Well as Mincha Arvit, as well as we're going to have, Bezat Hashem, next week, we're going to have the very great privilege of having Chacham David Yosef as well as Zamir Khan Wednesday and Thursday. We're looking forward to seeing everyone come. We'd like to thank Torah Anytime as well as Shul.com as well as Shara Ezra. Today is Yud Aleph Tevet Tavshin Pei Gimel, and it's brought down that there are many tzaddikim and tzidkaniyot. Their yahrzeit is celebrated today. Most notably that of Rabbi Shlomo ben Rabbi Kiva Eger, known as the Gilyon Maharsha. You look at any Gemara, almost every side of the page, the glosses of the Maharsha. It's not the Maharsha of Rabbi Shmuel Eliezer Edels, rather it is that of Rabbi Shlomo Eger. Shin Aleph Maharsha is Rabbi Shlomo Eger, the son of Rabbi Kiva Eger, who is also a brilliant Talmid Chacham. Open any Gemara and you will find that as well. The halacha is that when it comes to certain items that we said, if you were to take an item and by its natural state try to eat it, it will be inedible. However, if you were to cook it or add it with different additives, whatever it might be, it actually changes the status. So we brought a few cases a number of days ago, and we'd like to continue doing that. So for example, there are some edible flours out there. They have in these fancy catering halls. They put the little zigzag on top of the plate of like a one little who knows what and another little who knows what, and you have no clue what in the world this is, and then they put the flour. So I remember one time a few friends of mine, they were asking who would be brave enough to try to eat the flour. I told the people, I said, listen, I'm almost positive if they put the flour on the table, most probably it's edible. So I went over to the caterer, asked the caterer, and he says, yeah, of course, these are edible flours. So fine, I went back, sat down on the table, and then I was in a quandary. What beracha do you make on that? Because this is a bizarre item. I mean, who eats flowers? I mean, it's like somebody told me when I asked him, why don't you eat any salad? He says, I don't eat salad. That's the leaves and the grass are for the animals. I'm a human being, right? You know, so there's some people, they don't eat salad for that reason. So the argument could go also, therefore, also as well for flowers. Like it's a very bizarre item. So we know anything that's a very bizarre item, if you get hana from it, you make a shakol. So also over here, you should make a shakol. However, the fact is, says the Yalkut Yosef, if it is cooked in an item, or if somehow these additives or preservatives, whatever it might be, makes it now a status that really is edible, there's nothing wrong that's going to happen to you afterwards, it's really an edible item, you make a Borei Pri Adama, because it actually grew from the ground, make a Borei Pri Adama for that case. So that edible flour, you'd make a Borei Pri Adama. He says also, a very interesting chidush, that when it comes to, let's say, tapuchei adama, let's say when you have potatoes, obviously you make a borei pri adama because that grows from the ground. If you've ever been to a farm, you should go to a farm and see. That way you'll understand what beracha you make on different things. We've always told you to do that. It's a very good thing to do, to take your family on that good Cholamai trip as well. And they appreciate Hashem's creation, and they don't think that things come from the supermarket. You see where it comes from from Hashem on planet Earth. And when you see that tapuchei adama, many people think that when you are tovel b'shemen, when you, let's say you dip it into one of the 7 mashkim, one of the 7 liquids, one of the 7 mashkim is yad shechadam, one of them is shemen. And therefore, people think that if you fry your potatoes in, let's say, some amount of oil, you now have to wash. Why? Because tibulo b'mashke, it now got dipped in some type of liquid, and the halacha is technically anything that gets dipped in a liquid, you have to do nitilat yadayim. However, says the Yalkut Yosef, if you learn Daf Yomi, you'll appreciate this even more. Says the halachic ramification of shemen, like the Mishnah tells us, hanoder min hashemen, the shemen is dafka shemen zayit. And I'm assuming he's referring to that Mishnah in Nidarim that talks about that. That Mishnah, when we talk about shemen, almost always, it's always talking about shemen zayit. Now, yes, true, you also have another type of oil, other types of synthetic oils, and you have canola oil, you have all these different types of oil. Canola oil, parenthetically, is really just another type of, I forgot the exact one, but it's called canola because it was made in Canada. Canola, or whatever. Rabbi Sova, random fact. But anyways, the point is that any type of oil that you have is not considered in the halachic ramification of oil. It's only shemen zayit. So most people do not cook their potato items in shemen zayit. It's way too expensive. No one thinks to do that unless you're Meir, who has shemen zayit with whatever he has. But other people, that when it comes to having whatever it may be, they don't use shemen zayit. So if you're not using shemen zayit, you don't need to wash your hands. He says that's probably the minaga makom, minaga olam, why people do not wash their hands when they have some type of fried, who knows what, made out of potatoes, because it is not shemen zayit. Also, we say in the tefillah, right before we're about to start Shemana Esrei, it's a whole build-up. And as we're getting closer and closer to saying Shemana Esrei, we say, Ozeh dalem Hashem, you help the poor people. And then we say, Tilot la'elyon. So the Mefarshim say, now Hashem is so great and we're lauding him. Why are we saying that? We're trying to show how insignificant, in contrast we are to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're not even a speck of anything. Ozeh dalim, but yet you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you help the poor people. Tilot la'elyon. Oh my gosh, and now I have ability to talk to you. It should put a person in such awe. The person shouldn't have time to think about all the shtiyot that fill their head. Like the Chazon Ish used to tell people, he said, for some people, they need to say Tfilat HaDerech, and I like that, if you're Sfaradi, Birchat HaGomel. When you're saying, when you're traveling all over the world, and you're doing your rounds, when you're doing Shemoneh Esrei, a person realizes you have the ability to talk to the king, a person would have more serious of an endeavor or serious attitude when they do that. Just two more ideas with this to conclude. The halacha is that when it comes to achila shelo kederech, when it comes to eating something not the usual way, it's a discussion in the Gemara if that's considered achila or not. What's a nafkamina? Nafkamina will be very simple. Is achila shelo kederech, if achila eating something a very unusual way, if it's not really an achila, is it because you have to actually eat it, or is it because it has to be eaten? And if it gets eaten somehow, so that's called achila. That would be the nafkamina, if you say if it's achila or not. What's a nafkamina? Very big nafkamina. The halacha is like this. The Mishnah Melech brings down, if a person, let's say, somehow gets matzah in a person's body, you wrap it up in somehow a type of like tight wad of plastic, and you zip it in the person's mouth, and the person, they swallowed it, okay? So are they yotzeh? No, they're not yotzeh. What do you mean? I have matzah ingested in my system, but you didn't eat it. That's not achilat matzah. Or, that's a funny case, but what would be if Rahman al-San, someone literally cannot eat? So they have to, unfortunately, take a tube and puncture it through their stomach, and then they have to force feed it through their stomach. So do you grind up matzah and then put it in? The answer is no. Why? Because not shelo derech achilah. That's not the normal way to eat. However, if you say korbanot, we said at tzad that korbanot, three-way machloket, according to one tzad, the purpose of a korban is to be ne'achal. It has to be eaten. So it has to be eaten. Great, I ate it. I ingested it somehow. If a person it got somehow through their stomach, that's great. The korban was eaten. It was taken away. And somehow it's in my body. Therefore, you're yotzeh the mitzvah. That would be shelo kederech achila when it comes to that. Just to conclude with this, it says in the Revi'i that when Yaakov gathers his children around, Esva v'agida lachem, come and I will gather you. Acharit hayom, I'm going to tell you the end of days. And he doesn't say that. Why? Rashi tells us because he was about to say that, and he was about to be megala the ketz, and then unfortunately, HaKadosh Baruch Hu took the Shekhinah away from him. So Lavav Shirav asked a very good question. He says, wait 1 second, hold on. When this statement took place, this is over 3,000 years ago. So Yaakov knew that the Galut is going to be over 3,000 years. So he knew it's going to be 3,000 years. Why would he tell them that? Why in the world would he say to them, oh, I know when the Mashiach is going to come? In 3,000 and whatever and change years, you know? Like what? That's not hopeful at all. He says no, because we know the Gemara tells us, Bi'ita achishena. Either it'll come at the right appointed time, or achishena, I'll hurry it up. It's really dependent on you. You hold the keys, not anyone else. If you want to know, he wanted to actually tell them. He said, I know Achrit Hayimim, over 3,000 years, guys. If you don't get your act together, it's going to be a long haul. But it's really up to you. So that's what he wanted to tell them. Instead of telling them that, but he realized it's going to give them a tremendous amount of yush. That's why the Shekhinah departed from him. But that still idea that he told them that you have the capacity. I still have a nuvuah. You have this koach, you the koach, and that koach. And all. The Shekhinah didn't totally depart from him. Every person could bring Mashiach if they really want to and they desire to. So let's look for opportunities to bring the Tikkun Olam, to bring everyone together. And Bezat Hashem will bring Mashiach Tzidkenu and will be zochet to see the Binyan Bayit Hashlishi b'mehera v'yameinu. Amen. Rabbi Chanan ben Akasha Omer,